One of our favorite congressmen, Representative Alan Grayson of Florida, proposed an amendment to a House spending bill on Tuesday that would raise the minimum wage for federal government workers to $10.10 an hour. Now, he knows that's a modest number. He's, of course, in favor of a higher minimum wage. But he's doing this for a reason, as I'll explain. So, Obama recently signed an executive order that raised the minimum wage for federal contractors, and that's within the purview of an executive order. He can't just do it for the entire economy and all public sector workers and all private sector workers. So he needs Congress to move on that. So what Alan Grayson is doing here, again, this would be for all federal workers, not just contractors. And it goes without saying that what's going to happen? The Republicans are going to block it because they still control the House of Representatives, and they'd rather represent gigantic corporations and billionaires than the 80% of the American people that want to raise the minimum wage. But what Grayson is doing is brilliant in its simplicity because he's using a congressional procedure called a roll call to force the Republicans to go on the record in opposition against the minimum wage. And then in this case, we'll have specific names as to which ones are against the minimum wage. And then that allows you in the election cycle to start running ads if you're a Democrat around the country to say, hey, this guy opposes the minimum wage. You're in favor of raising the minimum wage. He's against it. He's against 80% of the American people. He's against democracy. Look, this guy's a fascist dictator tyrant. Is that who you want to vote for? Or do you want to vote for somebody who's going to represent you? So what he's doing is he's forcing them to admit that they are out of step with the American people, they don't agree with the American people, and they'd rather represent corporations and billionaires. And again, this is a brilliant move, but it's also massively infuriating that the Democrats haven't done this yet when it should have been done in 2008 when the Democrats had control of the House of Representatives and the Senate and, of course, the presidency because Obama just won. What are you waiting for, man? What are you waiting for? See, the reason why this story is great is because it shows you a few things. Number one, it shows you which Democrats are doing the right things. Okay, and we've known for a long time Alan Grayson is just fantastic. He really does a great job. He actually gives a shit about what the American people think. He's a true progressive. Elizabeth Warren is fantastic. Bernie Sanders is fantastic. You can find a few people in the Progressive Caucus that are fantastic. But the problem is that the Senate Democrats don't act like they should, okay? Most of the Democrats in the Senate and even most of the Democrats in the House of Representatives, they are establishment Democrats, and they don't know how the fuck to play politics. They don't know how to play politics. It took Alan Grayson to step up and say, all right, well, I'll be the one to do the thing that we should have done years ago and just force the Republicans to admit that they're against the minimum wage. They're against raising the minimum wage. So, look, I would even go a step further than what Alan Grayson did here. If I was President Obama, or if I was Harry Reid, or if I was any Senate Democrat or any Democrat in the House of Representatives, I mean, the barrage of attacks that I would unleash in the media over the fact that the Republicans are blocking a minimum wage increase, which 80% of the American people agree with, I would put so much pressure on them that they would feel as if they have to vote for it or they're going to lose their entire career. Okay, and that's where the Republicans are good at what they do and the Democrats suck at this. The Republicans are so good at being so insane and they just attack so much that they get Democrats to cave on policies that in the past they would have never caved on. So one example is like the overall budget. Did you know that the final budget agreement that they recently came to, it's a smaller budget than the originally proposed Ryan budget, which at the time was decried as way too draconian and it's not nearly enough. But because the Republicans were so extreme and they're willing to shut down the government and they're willing to try to repeal Obamacare 50 times and they filibuster everything, they made the Democrats go, okay, you twisted my arm. All right, here, we'll give you 80% of what you want. Can you get off my back now? The Democrats need to do that. The Democrats need to say, oh, really, you're against the minimum wage? That's interesting. Well, I have all of the American people that agree with me, so you better sit down and watch me crush you in the media. Okay, I do a media tour. I go on MSNBC, which is, of course, your home team, and just day in and day out, I talk to Chris Matthews, Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow. Oh, did you know that these guys hate the American people and they don't agree with them? Oh, did you know that 80% of the American people disagree with these assholes? Why are they acting like tyrants? Why are they acting like dictators? Why do they hate the middle class? Why do they hate the poor? I'd go on the nightly news programs and talk about that. I'd release ads for no goddamn reason. I go to the DNC and say, hey, do me a favor. I'm not even up for re-election, but we're going to raise some money and we're going to run ads just for no reason to specifically talk about how the Republicans are against the minimum wage. And then you know what we'll do? We'll propose a bill that raises the minimum wage to a living wage of $12 an hour. That's what we're going to do. And when John Boehner doesn't allow a vote on it on the House of Representatives, fantastic. Guess what? That's our next ad. John Boehner won't allow a vote on something that 80% of the American people agree with. Call his office and ask him why he hates America. This is what you do. This is how you play politics. This is how you win. And then you know what I do? I propose another bill after they block that one, and I say, oh, that's nice. You wanted to block that one? How about this? We're going to raise it to $13 an hour. How you like them apples? For every time you vote it down, I'm going to come back with a higher minimum wage. I'll come back. We'll go all the way up to $20. You want to play this game? Let's play this game, man. You voted to repeal Obamacare 50 times when we have a Democratic president who would veto it no matter what, and we have a Democratic-controlled Senate who wouldn't allow it through. Okay, you want to play this game? Fuck, you tried 50 times for a bill that was impossible to get through. It's possible to get through a minimum wage increase. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to do it 100 times. And every single time you don't raise it, I'm going to go speak to reporters, make friends with reporters, and talk to them about how horrible you are and how much you hate America and how much you hate the economy. I'll bring up the studies which show the fact that when you increase the minimum wage, it actually helps the economy because you give an underclass of people something that's called purchasing power. And what that means is these people immediately go out and they pay their bills and they buy new things and they go shopping, which helps the economy. And also, the studies that show that when you raise the minimum wage, it does not increase unemployment, which is the key conservative argument against raising the minimum wage. If you want to play this game, man, we'll play this game all day long. We'll play this game all day long. But that's the thing. The Democrats, I have to come out here and give them credit when they do the simple thing that they should have done in 2008, when they finally just say, all right, we're finally going to get them on the record. Motherfucker, you should have gotten them on the record, called all of them out by name personally, run 100 ads against them, proposed 100 bills to raise the minimum wage, done a campaign where it's the main issue leading every news program in the country. Hello, President Obama, where the fuck are you on this, dude? You have this thing called the bully pulpit. You're the President of the United States. I don't know why every day this guy's not calling a press conference and talking about it ad nauseum. But that's the thing. While we have guys like Alan Grayson and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren that do the right thing and they believe the right things, that's as liberal as we get. And as liberal as we get in Congress is people who are just willing to say, all right, we're going to get you on the record. Not even getting them on the record and proposing 100 bills and destroying them in the media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, nothing to take away from Alan Grayson, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and the actual good people who are doing their fucking job because they're the best we got. Okay? They're the best we got. But it still shows you how sucky the political climate is when something that's obvious that should have been done a long time ago is just getting done now.